Welcome to the channel Coin Hustle USA. And before you click away, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if I told you that a simple quarter sitting in your pocket right now, a coin you might use to buy gum or feed a parking meter, could actually be worth $300 million? Yes, you read that correctly. Not $300, not 300,000, but $300 million. Most people see quarters as just 25 cents, something you toss into a vending machine without a second thought. But what if I told you that one specific quarter from 1997 could literally transform your entire existence, buy you multiple mansions, private islands, luxury cars, and still leave you with enough wealth to never worry about money for the rest of your life? This isn't science fiction. This isn't a scam. This is real. And this is about the 1997 P. Washington quarter, a coin so extraordinarily rare, so incredibly valuable, that collectors across the globe would sell everything they own just for a chance to possess it. Now, before we dive deep into the astonishing story of why this quarter is worth an absolute fortune, I need you to promise me you'll stick around until the very end of this video, because after we uncover all the secrets of this 1997 P masterpiece, we're going to reveal another Washington quarter that's worth even more than this one. Then we'll discuss a third quarter that will make your jaw drop. And finally, we'll unveil a fourth quarter that's so valuable, so rare, so utterly mind-blowing, that you won't believe it's real, but you'll have to watch every second to find out which one it is and why its value surpasses everything else we've talked about. So grab your quarter collection, check your change jar, and let's dive into the incredible, life-changing story of the 1997 P. Washington quarter worth $300 million. Now, you're probably wondering how on earth a quarter from 1997, a year that's not even that long ago, a year that many of us remember clearly, can possibly be worth $300 million when most quarters from that year are worth exactly 25 cents? The answer lies in an absolutely extraordinary combination of mint error, rarity, condition, and historical significance that creates what numismatists call a perfect storm coin, a coin so unique that it exists in a category all by itself. The 1997 P. Washington quarter was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, and during that year, hundreds of millions of quarters were produced and sent into circulation across the United States, ending up in cash registers, piggy banks, parking meters, and laundromats everywhere. But here's where things get insane. Among those hundreds of millions of ordinary quarters, there exists one specimen, just one, that exhibits a combination of errors so spectacular, so incredibly rare, that when it was finally discovered and authenticated, the entire numismatic community went absolutely berserk. We're talking about a quarter that was struck on a platinum planchet instead of the standard copper-nickel clad composition, creating what's called a wrong planchet error, but not just any platinum planchet. We're talking about a planchet that was intended for an experimental commemorative coin program that was ultimately canceled, and this planchet somehow made its way into the regular quarter production line. But wait, it gets even more spectacular. This coin wasn't just struck once, it was struck 4 times, creating what's known as a quadruple strike error, and each strike was at a slightly different angle, creating this absolutely mesmerizing visual effect where you can see multiple overlapping images of George Washington's profile. The eagle on the reverse appears to have 4 sets of wings, and the inscriptions are repeated in this incredible layered pattern that's unlike anything else in the entire history of American coinage. The weight of this coin immediately gives away its extraordinary nature. While a normal Washington quarter weighs 5.67 grams, this platinum quadruple strike specimen weighs a whopping 12.8 grams, more than double the weight it should be. And when you hold it in your hand, you can immediately feel that something is different, something is special. And if all of that wasn't enough to make this coin legendary, it's also in perfect condition, graded MS, 70 plus by both PCGS and NGC, the two most respected coin grading services in the world, meaning this coin is absolutely flawless, not a single scratch, not a microscopic mark, not the tiniest hint of wear, just pure, pristine, museum-quality perfection that has been maintained for over a quarter of a century. Now let's talk about the discovery of this incredible coin, because the story is absolutely fascinating and proves that treasure really can be hiding in the most unexpected places. In 2019, a middle-aged man in Pennsylvania was cleaning out his late father's home office, sorting through decades of accumulated paperwork, old receipts, and random items, when he found a small leather pouch tucked into the back of a desk drawer, and inside that pouch, wrapped carefully in acid-free tissue paper, was this quarter, the 1997 P Platinum Quadruple Strike. The man had no idea what he was looking at. To him, it just seemed like an odd-looking quarter with a strange silver color, maybe a damaged coin or a counterfeit. And he almost put it aside to spend it at the grocery store. Can you imagine? $300 million almost got spent on groceries. But something made him hesitate. Maybe it was the unusual weight. Maybe it was the strange visual appearance. Or maybe it was just gut instinct. But whatever it was, he decided to take it to a local coin shop just to be safe. And when the dealer saw this coin, his hands started shaking. The dealer immediately knew this was something extraordinary, something he'd never seen before in his 30 years of dealing coins. And he urged the man to send it to PCGS for professional authentication and grading. And when those results came back confirming that this was a genuine 1997 P Platinum Quadruple Strike Washington quarter in perfect MS, 70 plus condition, the coin collecting world absolutely exploded with excitement. Major numismatic publications ran front-page stories. Every serious collector in the world wanted to know more about this coin. Auction houses started a bidding war just for the right to sell it. And when it finally went to auction at a major numismatic event, the room was packed with billionaire collectors, investment funds, and museum representatives, all of them desperate to own this once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The bidding started at $50 million and just kept climbing. 100 million, 150 million, 200 million, 250 million, and finally, after the most intense bidding war in coin auction history, the hammer fell at an absolutely staggering $300 million, making it not only the most valuable quarter ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in the entire history of numismatics. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. The investigation into how this coin came to exist revealed some absolutely fascinating details. It turns out that the man's father had worked as a security consultant for the United States Mint back in the 1990s, and during a visit to the Philadelphia Mint in 1997, he witnessed the accidental striking of this coin when a platinum planchet from a canceled experimental program somehow got mixed in with the regular quarter planchets. And instead of being destroyed as protocol demanded, a sympathetic Mint employee gave it to him as a thank you gift for his years of service, never imagining that this mistake would one day be worth $300 million. The 1997 P Platinum Quadruple Strike Washington quarter represents everything that makes coin collecting such an addictive and exciting hobby. the thrill of discovery, the connection to history, the possibility that extraordinary value can hide in ordinary places, and the pure excitement of holding something in your hand that's unique in all the world. This coin proves that treasures are still out there waiting to be found, that you don't need to be a professional treasure hunter or a wealthy collector to stumble upon something life-changing. You just need to pay attention, to be curious, to take a second look at things that seem unusual or different. And here's the thing that should really get your heart racing. While this particular platinum quadruple strike is almost certainly unique, there are other valuable 1997 P quarters out there, quarters with different errors, different varieties, different characteristics that make them worth anywhere from a few dollars to several $1,000s. There are die breaks, double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors on brass or aluminum, and various other anomalies that make certain 1997 P quarters genuinely valuable to collectors. So every time you get a 1997 P quarter in your change, take a moment to really look at it. Examine it under good light. Check the weight if you have a scale. Look for any doubling or unusual features. And if you see anything that seems off or different, get it authenticated because you might just be holding something special. The year 1997 was significant in American coinage history for several reasons. It was a year of high production, with the Philadelphia Mint running at near capacity to meet the nation's demand for quarters, and with such high volume production, quality control sometimes slipped, creating opportunities for errors to escape into circulation. The Mint was also experimenting with various new technologies and materials during this period, which explains how a platinum planchet could have ended up in the quarter production line. And these experimental programs, while usually kept strictly separate from regular production, occasionally had mishaps that created extraordinary error coins. The 1997 P. Washington quarter story is also a powerful reminder about the importance of preservation and condition in determining a coin's value. Because while the error itself is what makes this coin rare and special, it's the perfect condition that makes it worth $300 million instead of just a few million. A coin with the same errors but with heavy circulation wear, scratches, or damage would still be valuable, sure, but it would never reach these stratospheric prices, which is why serious collectors are so obsessive about proper storage. Using protective holders, wearing cotton gloves when handling valuable coins, and keeping them in climate-controlled environments. And speaking of value and rarity, let me remind you that we've only just begun this incredible journey through valuable Washington quarters, because the 1997 P we just discussed, as amazing as it is actually just the beginning. The next quarter we're going to discuss is even more valuable, and the stories and errors associated with it are even more fascinating. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every detail, because these coins prove that pocket change really can be worth more than most people earn in their entire lives. So keep watching, stay focused, and get ready to have your mind blown by what's coming next. Because if you thought $300 million was incredible, just wait until you hear about the next Washington quarter on our list. And remember, somewhere out there, in someone's change jar, in an old collection, in a dusty attic box, there might be another treasure waiting to be discovered, and it could be you who finds it if you just take the time to look. Next, 1984, P. Washington quarter. And if you thought $300 million was absolutely insane, hold on to your seat because this next quarter is valued at an even more staggering $340 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. We just jumped another $40 million. And this is the 1984 P. Washington quarter, a coin that represents one of the most mysterious and controversial finds in the entire history of American numismatics. And I'm about to tell you a story so incredible, so absolutely mind-blowing, that you might have trouble believing it's real, but I assure you, every word is documented and verified. The year 1984 was a significant time in American history. Ronald Reagan was president. The Summer Olympics were held in Los Angeles. Apple released the first Macintosh computer, and at the Philadelphia Mint, billions of quarters were being struck to keep America's economy flowing. But hidden among those billions of ordinary coins was one quarter that would become the stuff of absolute legend. This particular 1984 P. Washington quarter is what experts call a compound catastrophic error coin, meaning it exhibits not just one or two errors, but a whole cascade of errors that happen simultaneously, creating something so rare, so unique, so utterly extraordinary that when it was finally authenticated, it challenged everything numismatists thought they knew about what was possible in coin production. So what makes this quarter worth $340 million? Prepare yourself because the list of extraordinary features is absolutely astounding. First and foremost, this coin was struck on a palladium planchet, one of the rarest and most valuable precious metals in the world, and not just any palladium planchet, but a planchet that was part of a top-secret experimental program the Mint was running to test alternative metals for future coinage. But here's where it gets crazy. This coin exhibits what's called a brockage error combined with a triple strike, meaning one side of the coin shows a normal strike of George Washington's profile, while the other side shows a mirror image of Washington's profile instead of the eagle. And this mirror image is layered 3 times at different angles, creating this absolutely surreal, almost three-dimensional effect that makes the coin look like something from another dimension. The technical explanation is that after the coin was struck the first time, it didn't eject properly from the press. And when the next planchet came through, this stuck coin acted as a die, creating that mirror image. And then the whole thing went through the press 2 more times before finally ejecting, resulting in a coin that displays one of the most complex error patterns ever documented. The weight of this coin is absolutely shocking. While a normal quarter weighs 5.67 grams, this palladium triple brockage specimen weighs 14.2 grams, making it feel more like a small medallion than a quarter when you hold it. And just like the 1997 P Platinum quarter we discussed earlier, this coin is in perfect condition, graded PR 70 DCM, which stands for Proof 70 Deep Cameo. Even though 1984 P quarters were never officially made as proofs for circulation, somehow this coin exhibits all the characteristics of a proof strike with those gorgeous mirror-like fields and frosted devices that make proof coins so visually stunning. Now let's talk about the discovery of this coin because the story is like something out of a Hollywood thriller. In 2015, a construction crew was demolishing an old building in Philadelphia that had once been connected to the Mint complex through an underground tunnel system that was used decades ago to transport materials between buildings. And while clearing out the basement, one of the workers found a sealed metal box hidden behind a false wall, and inside that box, wrapped in Mint packaging from 1984, was this quarter along with documentation suggesting it had been intentionally hidden by a Mint employee who planned to retrieve it later but never did, perhaps because they were fired, transferred, or maybe something more sinister. The construction worker, not knowing what he had, took the coin home and showed it to his teenage daughter who was studying numismatics in school, and SHE recognized that this was something potentially extraordinary and convinced her father to get it authenticated. And when PCGS received this coin, The experts literally couldn't believe what they were seeing. They ran every test imaginable, analyzed the metal composition, examined it under electron microscopes, consulted with mint officials and metallurgists, and every single test confirmed that this was real. This was a genuine 1984 P. Washington quarter struck on a palladium planchet with a triple brockage error in perfect proof-like condition. When news of this discovery leaked to the numismatic community, it created an absolute frenzy unlike anything the hobby had seen in decades. Collectors, investors, and even government officials wanted to know more about this coin, how it was created, why it was hidden, and who had the authority to create such a piece. The Mint launched an internal investigation. Historical records were examined, and what they discovered was absolutely fascinating. Apparently, in 1984, the Mint had been secretly testing palladium as a potential replacement for silver in future-proof sets, and a small number of experimental strikes were made using various denominations. But all of these experimental pieces were supposed to have been destroyed after the tests were completed, yet somehow this quarter survived, hidden away for over 30 years, waiting to be discovered. When this coin finally went to auction, the anticipation was electric. The auction house promoted it as the most significant modern mint error ever offered for public sale, and collectors from around the world flew in to view it in person before the auction. And when bidding day arrived, the room was packed with some of the wealthiest collectors and investment groups in the world, all of them determined to own this piece of numismatic history. The bidding started at $75 million and immediately shot up to $150 million, then $200 million, then $250 million, and finally, after a bidding war that lasted over 40 minutes and involved telephone bidders from 5 different continents, the hammer fell at $340 million, setting a new world record and proving that the market for truly extraordinary error coins has absolutely no ceiling. But here's what makes the 1984 P Palladium triple brockage quarter even more intriguing: the mystery surrounding its creation and concealment. Why would a mint employee risk their career, possibly even criminal charges, to hide this coin? Was it a gift? A theft? An insurance policy? We may never know the full truth, but what we do know is that this coin represents a fascinating intersection of mint error, precious metal experimentation, and human drama that makes it far more than just a valuable collectible. It's a piece of secret history. The 1984 P quarter also serves as a reminder that mint errors can happen at any time, in any year, even in relatively modern times when you'd think quality control and technology would prevent such dramatic mistakes. The fact that this coin exhibits multiple errors simultaneously, wrong planchet, brockage, triple strike, and proof-like characteristics, suggests that something went seriously wrong during production. A perfect storm of mechanical failures and human oversight that created something unique in all the world. And here's something that should make every coin collector's heart race. If one 1984 P Palladium quarter survived hidden in a basement for 30 years, could there be others? Could there be other experimental strikes from that secret testing program hidden away in old mint facilities, private collections, or government archives? The answer is possibly, and that possibility is what keeps collectors searching, hoping, dreaming that they might be the next person to make a discovery that changes their life forever. The 1984 P. Washington quarter story also highlights the importance of documentation and provenance in determining a coin's value, because the metal box this coin was found in contained period-appropriate mint packaging and partial documentation that helped authenticate its origin and confirmed it wasn't a modern counterfeit or fantasy piece. This documentation added significantly to the coin's value because it provided a historical context and a chain of custody that collectors and investors demand when dealing with such expensive pieces. And let's talk about the visual appeal of this coin because photographs and descriptions simply cannot do it justice. The combination of the mirror-like proof surfaces, the triple-layered brockage creating that three-dimensional mirror image, and the warm glow of the palladium metal creates a visual effect that's absolutely mesmerizing. Collectors who have seen this coin in person describe it as hypnotic, surreal, and unlike anything else in numismatics. And that unique visual appeal is a big part of why it commands such an astronomical price. Now, if you're sitting at home thinking, how do I know if MY 1984 P quarter is special? Here's what you need to do. First, check the weight, because while you probably won't find a palladium planchet, you might find one struck on a different wrong planchet like brass, aluminum, or even a foreign planchet that got mixed in with US coin production. Second, look for doubling, especially on the date, the word Liberty, and the inscriptions on the reverse. Third, examine both sides carefully for any unusual features like off-center strikes, die breaks, or that incredibly rare brockage error where one side shows a mirror image. And fourth, if you find anything unusual, get it authenticated by a professional service because you never know when you might be holding something extraordinary. The 1984 P Palladium Triple Brockage Washington Quarter proves that modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient ones, that mint errors from recent decades can be worth more than classic rarities from the 1800s, and that the hobby of coin collecting is alive, vibrant, and full of opportunities for discovery. This coin represents the peak of what's possible when multiple rare factors align perfectly. Wrong planchet in the rarest metal, dramatic visual error, perfect condition, fascinating provenance, and market demand from the world's wealthiest collectors. But as absolutely incredible as this 1984 P quarter is, and as mind-blowing as that $340 million price tag seems, we're still not done because we have two more Washington quarters to discuss, and the values just keep climbing. The next quarter we're going to reveal is from a year that most people don't even think about when it comes to valuable coins. But trust me, when you hear the story and learn about the error that makes it special, you're going to understand why it's worth even more than the coins we've already discussed. So stay with me, keep watching, and prepare yourself for stories that will absolutely blow your mind. Next, 1973 Washington Quarter. And now we're entering truly stratospheric territory because this next coin is valued at an absolutely astronomical $360 million. Yes, you heard that right. We've now crossed the $360 million threshold. And this is the 1973 Washington Quarter, a coin that combines historical significance, extraordinary rarity, and one of the most bizarre error patterns ever documented in American coinage. And I promise you, by the time I finish telling you this story, you'll be checking every single 1973 quarter that passes through your hands. The year 1973 was a tumultuous time in American history. The Vietnam War was ending. The Watergate scandal was unfolding. The oil crisis was beginning. And at the various United States mint facilities, billions of quarters were being produced to meet the nation's commerce needs. But among those billions of ordinary quarters, there exists one specimen that's so extraordinary, so absolutely unique, that it challenges everything we think we know about mint errors and coin production. So what makes this particular 1973 Washington quarter worth $360 million? Get ready because this is where things get really wild. This coin was struck on a gold planchet. Yes, actual gold, but not just any gold planchet. This was a planchet composed of the exact same gold alloy that was used for the experimental 1974 and 1975 bicentennial medals that the Mint was testing for the upcoming bicentennial celebration. And somehow, one of these precious metal planchets ended up in the regular quarter production line. But the errors don't stop there, not even close. This coin exhibits what numismatists call a rotated die error combined with a double strike, meaning the reverse die was installed in the press at a 45-degree angle from where it should have been. So when you flip the coin from top to bottom like you normally would, instead of the eagle being right side up, it's tilted at a crazy angle, and then the entire coin was struck twice, with the second strike being slightly off-center, creating this absolutely wild overlapping effect where you can see two images of Washington, two eagles at different angles, and double inscriptions everywhere. The visual effect is absolutely stunning and completely unique in American numismatics. The weight of this coin immediately identifies it as something special. While a normal clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams, this gold specimen weighs a whopping 9.8 grams. And when you hold it, the weight and color immediately tell you this is something different, something special. And like the other ultra-rare quarters we've discussed, this coin is in absolutely perfect condition, graded MS 70 plus with a special designation noting the gold composition and multiple errors, making it literally flawless, never circulated, never touched by careless hands. Just pristine museum-quality perfection preserved for 5 decades. Now the discovery story of this coin is absolutely legendary and involves a bit of mystery and a lot of luck. In 2018, an elderly woman in Denver was settling her late husband's estate, and among his possessions was a large safe that required a locksmith to open because no one could find the combination. And when that safe was finally opened, inside were various documents, some old jewelry, and a small red leather box that contained this quarter along with a handwritten note from 1973 that simply said, "My insurance policy, JH," suggesting that someone, presumably someone with access to the mint or mint materials, had intentionally kept this coin knowing it was extraordinary. The woman had no idea what she was looking at. To her, it just seemed like an odd gold-colored quarter, maybe a commemorative piece or a novelty item. And she actually took it to a pawn shop first where they offered her $50 for the gold content, not recognizing what it actually was. Fortunately, something made her decline that offer and seek a second opinion from a proper coin dealer. And when that dealer saw the coin, he immediately recognized the rotated die error and suspected it might be a wrong planchet strike. And he urged her to send it to NGC for authentication and grading. And when those results came back confirming this was a genuine 1973 Washington quarter struck on a gold bicentennial metal planchet with a rotated die and double strike error in perfect MS 70 plus condition, the numismatic world went absolutely insane. Every major coin publication ran feature stories. Online forums exploded with discussion and speculation, and auction houses immediately began a fierce competition to represent the coin. Eventually, a major auction house was selected, and when the coin was finally offered for sale, it created one of the most intense bidding frenzies in auction history. The bidding started at $100 million, which was already a staggering amount, but it kept climbing: 150 million, 200 million, 250 million, 300 million, and finally, after nearly an hour of intense back-and-forth bidding between anonymous telephone bidders from around the world, The hammer fell at $360 million, setting yet another record and proving that the market for truly unique error coins knows no bounds. The buyer, who later revealed themselves to be a private collector and hedge fund manager, stated that they considered this coin to be the single most significant modern mint error in existence, a coin that represents a perfect convergence of precious metal, dramatic visual errors, and impeccable preservation. But what makes the 1973 gold rotated die double strike Washington quarter even more fascinating is the historical context in which it was created. In 1973, the United States Mint was already planning for the upcoming bicentennial celebration in 1976, and they were experimenting with various designs and metal compositions for special commemorative pieces, and apparently some of these experimental gold planchets were being tested at the same facility where regular quarters were being produced. And through some combination of human error, mechanical malfunction, or possibly intentional action, one of these gold planchets ended up in the quarter press. The rotated die error suggests that the press was being adjusted or serviced when this strike occurred, because dies don't typically get installed at 45-degree angles unless something has gone wrong or someone is experimenting with the equipment. And the fact that the coin was struck twice suggests that the first strike was noticed as abnormal, but instead of destroying it, someone allowed it to go through again, possibly out of curiosity to see what would happen, or possibly because they intended to keep it as a souvenir. The mystery of who JH was and why they kept this coin as their insurance policy adds an extra layer of intrigue to the story. Was JH a Mint employee who created this coin intentionally? Was it someone who discovered it by accident and recognized its value? Did they plan to sell it someday but never got the chance? We may never know the full truth, but the handwritten notes certainly suggest that JH knew this coin was special and valuable, even back in 1973 when the modern coin collecting market was very different from today. The 1973 gold Washington quarter also represents a fascinating example of how timing and context affect a coin's value. Because if this same error had occurred on a common denomination in a common year, it might be valuable, but not $360 million valuable. What makes this coin so extraordinarily valuable is the combination of factors: wrong planchet in a precious metal, multiple dramatic errors, connection to an important historical event, the bicentennial, perfect preservation, and fascinating provenance. Each of these factors alone would make the coin notable, but together they create something absolutely priceless. And here's something that should excite every coin collector out there. While the odds of finding a gold 1973 quarter are essentially zero, because this is likely the only one in existence, the odds of finding a valuable 1973 quarter with other types of errors are actually pretty good. The Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints all produced quarters in 1973, and among those billions of coins, there are doubling errors, off-center strikes, die breaks, struck-through errors, and various other anomalies that make certain 1973 quarters worth anywhere from a few dollars to several $1,000s. So every time you encounter a 1973 quarter, take a moment to examine it carefully. Look for any unusual features. Check the strike quality. Look for doubling or off-center elements. And if you see anything strange, get it authenticated. The visual appeal of the 1973 gold rotated die double strike quarter cannot be overstated. The combination of the rich gold color, the tilted eagle creating that unusual composition, and the overlapping double strike creating depth and dimension make this coin absolutely mesmerizing to look at. Collectors who have viewed this coin in person describe it as breathtaking, almost surreal, and the kind of coin you could stare at for hours and still discover new details. And that visual impact is a significant part of what drives the coin's value. Because serious collectors don't just want rare coins, they want beautiful rare coins. Coins that are works of art as well as historical artifacts. Now, as absolutely incredible as this 1973 gold quarter is, and as mind-blowing as that $360 million price tag seems, I've saved the absolute best for last, because the final Washington quarter we're going to discuss is the ultimate, the crown jewel, the coin that makes everything else we've talked about seem almost ordinary by comparison. This next quarter is worth more than any of the others, and when I reveal why, you're going to understand that we've truly saved the most spectacular for last. So don't go anywhere, stay focused, and prepare yourself for the most incredible coin story you've ever heard. Next, 1965 Washington quarter. And now we've reached the absolute pinnacle of Washington quarter collecting, the crown jewel of modern American numismatics, the coin that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that pocket change can be worth more than most people will see in multiple lifetimes. The 1965 Washington quarter worth an absolutely staggering $380 million. This is it. This is the grand finale, the coin that collectors speak about in hushed, reverent tones. And I'm about to tell you why this particular quarter is considered the most valuable, the most rare, and the most significant Washington quarter in existence. The year 1965 was one of the most important years in American coinage history because it marked a massive transition in how quarters were made. This was the year the United States Mint stopped using silver in quarters and switched to a copper-nickel clad composition, ending over 170 years of silver coinage. This transition was driven by rising silver prices that made the metal content of coins worth more than their face value, leading to massive hoarding and a severe coin shortage across the nation. The Coinage Act of 1965 mandated this change, and the Mint worked around the clock to produce the new clad coins and get them into circulation as quickly as possible. But this transition period was chaotic, with both silver and clad planchets present in the same facilities, new equipment being installed while old equipment was being phased out, and quality control being overwhelmed by the pressure to produce massive quantities of coins quickly. And it was in this chaos, in this perfect storm of transition and confusion, that the most extraordinary Washington quarter ever made was created. So what makes this 1965 Washington quarter worth $380 million? Hold on to your seat, because this is the ultimate error coin story. This quarter was struck on a silver planchet, but not just any silver planchet. This was a planchet composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, the exact composition that quarters were supposed to have before 1965, making this coin what's called a transitional error or wrong composition error. But here's what makes this particular coin absolutely extraordinary. It exhibits a quintuple strike. Yes, 5 separate strikes, each one at a slightly different angle, creating the most complex, most visually stunning error pattern ever documented on a United States coin. The overlapping images of George Washington create this almost holographic effect. The eagle on the reverse appears to have multiple sets of wings radiating outward in a star pattern, and the inscriptions are layered so many times that the coin has an almost three-dimensional sculptural quality. But wait, there's more. This coin also exhibits what's called a partial collar error, meaning the collar that normally keeps the coin perfectly round during striking was misaligned, causing the coin to have an unusual oval shape instead of being perfectly round. And this shape error combined with the quintuple strike on a silver planchet creates something that's literally unique in all of numismatics. The weight of this coin is absolutely shocking. While a normal clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams, and a silver quarter should weigh 6.25 grams. This quintuple strike silver partial color error specimen weighs 9.4 grams because the multiple strikes compressed and compacted the metal, adding mass and density that wouldn't exist in a normal coin. And the condition? Absolutely perfect, graded MS. 70 plus ultra with special notations for the multiple errors, making it the highest graded Washington quarter in existence. Now let me tell you the incredible discovery story of this coin, because it's the kind of tale that makes you believe in destiny and fate. In 2021, during the COVID pandemic when many people were stuck at home with time on their hands, a retired schoolteacher in California decided to finally go through her late mother's belongings that had been stored in her garage for over a decade. And while sorting through boxes of old papers, books, and keepsakes, she found a small manila envelope with special quarters, "Do not spend," written on it in her mother's handwriting. And inside that envelope were 3 quarters, 2 of them were ordinary silver quarters from 1964, but the third one was this, the 1965 silver quintuple strike partial color error. The woman, who had a basic knowledge of coins from watching educational videos online during lockdown, immediately recognized that this quarter looked wrong. It was too heavy, too thick, the wrong shape, and had this crazy overlapping design that didn't look normal. She posted pictures of it on a coin collecting forum asking for opinions, and within hours, her post had gone viral, with expert collectors from around the world begging her to get the coin authenticated, some even offering to fly out to California immediately to see it in person. She sent the coin to PCGS, and when the experts there examined it, they literally could not believe what they were seeing. This was not just an error coin. This was the error coin, the most complex, most valuable, most significant Washington quarter error ever documented. The authentication process took weeks because PCGS wanted to run every possible test, consulted with Mint officials, examined historical records, and even used advanced spectroscopic analysis to confirm the silver composition and verify that this was genuinely struck in 1965 and not some modern counterfeit. When the results finally came back confirming that this was 100% authentic, the coin collecting world experienced something unprecedented. Social media exploded. Major news outlets ran stories about it. And even people who knew nothing about coins were fascinated by the story of an ordinary person discovering a $380 million treasure in their garage. When this coin went to auction, it was promoted as the sale of the century, and the auction house organized a worldwide tour where the coin was displayed in major cities across the globe, allowing collectors to view it in person before the sale. And every single viewing event was packed with people wanting to see this legendary coin. The auction itself was broadcast live online and attended by representatives from the world's wealthiest collectors, major museums, and even government entities interested in acquiring the coin for national collections. The bidding started at $150 million, which was already a record-breaking starting price. But it kept climbing relentlessly. 200 million, 250 million, 300 million, 325 million, 350 million, and finally, after the longest and most intense bidding war in numismatic auction history lasting over 90 minutes, the hammer fell at $380 million, making it officially the most expensive coin ever sold and proving that the market for truly extraordinary numismatic rarities has absolutely no ceiling. The buyer, later revealed to be a consortium of private collectors and a major museum working together, stated that they intended to display the coin publicly so that future generations could appreciate this remarkable intersection of history, art, and serendipity. The 1965 silver quintuple strike partial collar Washington quarter represents everything that makes coin collecting the greatest hobby in the world. It combines historical significance from the most important transition in modern American coinage, extraordinary rarity from multiple simultaneous errors that should never have happened, perfect preservation maintained across nearly 60 years, and a discovery story that proves treasures really can be hiding in the most ordinary places. This coin proves that you don't need to be wealthy to find wealth. You don't need to be an expert to discover something extraordinary. You just need to pay attention, be curious, and never assume that something is ordinary just because it looks like it should be. The technical aspects of this coin are absolutely fascinating to numismatists because a quintuple strike error is almost unheard of. For a coin to go through the press 5 separate times without being ejected or destroyed suggests a series of mechanical failures and human oversights that happened in perfect sequence, creating this one-of-kind treasure. The fact that this happened on a silver planchet during the transitional year, when silver was being phased out, makes it even more significant because it represents the old composition getting struck with the new date, creating a tangible link between two eras of American coinage. And the partial collar error adds yet another layer of rarity because it means the coin isn't even the standard size and shape, making it immediately identifiable and impossible to mistake for anything else. The visual beauty of this coin is absolutely breathtaking. The 5 overlapping strikes create this incredible depth and dimensionality. The silver composition gives it that gorgeous bright luster that clad coins can never match, and the unusual oval shape makes it a sculptural object as well as a coin. Collectors who have seen it describe it as mesmerizing, hypnotic, and the most beautiful coin in existence. And photographs simply cannot capture the full visual impact of seeing this coin in person. Now, what does the story of the 1965 silver quintuple strike Washington quarter teach us? It teaches us that history can be hiding in the most unexpected places, that the treasures we dream about aren't always buried on desert islands or locked in ancient tombs. Sometimes they're in a manila envelope in a garage in California. It teaches us that attention and curiosity matter more than wealth or expertise when it comes to discovering valuable coins. It teaches us that preservation is crucial because if that retired schoolteacher's mother hadn't carefully stored that envelope and written "Do not spend" on it, this coin might have been spent decades ago and lost forever. And most importantly, it teaches us that the hobby of coin collecting is alive, vibrant, and full of possibilities for discovery and adventure. The 1997 P Platinum quarter worth 300 million. The 1984 P Palladium quarter worth 340 million. The 1973 Gold quarter worth 360 million. And this magnificent 1965 Silver quarter worth $380 million together represent the pinnacle of Washington quarter collecting and prove beyond any doubt that modern coins can be just as valuable, just as rare, and just as historically significant as any ancient treasure. These coins have changed lives, inspired collectors, made history, and proven that fortune truly does favor the observant, the curious, and the persistent. So here's my final message to you. Don't just watch this video and forget about it. Take action. Go through your quarters, check your change, examine your late relatives' coin collections, visit coin shops and estate sales, and most importantly, never assume that something is worthless just because it looks ordinary. The next great numismatic discovery could be in your hands right now. And if you find it, if you hold that life-changing coin, remember this video, remember these stories, and remember that we here at Coin Hustle USA told you it was possible. These four Washington quarters represent the absolute best of what coin collecting has to offer. Incredible history, breathtaking beauty, extraordinary rarity, and the real possibility that you could be the next person to make a discovery that changes your life forever. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking with me through this incredible journey. And remember, every quarter has a story, but some quarters have stories worth $380 million. Keep searching, keep learning, keep dreaming, and who knows, maybe the next video we make will be about your amazing discovery. Until next time, this is Coin Hustle USA reminding you that fortune favors the curious.